All right, guys, so we're going to be starting to read a play. So we need to make sure that we understand the different elements of a drama. Drama is a play. In order to be able to successfully analyze a dramatic play, we need to understand the elements of it. So this is at the top of every slide. As you are taking notes, you should be using the Cornell note method. The drama term should go in the small column of your notes on the left, and the definition and or examples should go in the large column. What it doesn't say on here is also in your small column. If you have any questions about anything, make sure that you write the question in the small column underneath the term. Okay, so that you remember to ask me about it and that you make sure that you write down the answer to it. Okay, that's really important. So our first term is an act. An act is a major division of a play, kind of like chapters of a book. Okay, so there's more than one act in a play usually, but sometimes there's only just one or two. For example, we're going to be reading A Christmas Carol, and there are 2 acts in the play. A scene, minor division of a play, is what divides up the acts. Okay, there's more than one scene per act. And it serves pretty much just to divide up the action, divide up what is happening in the play. If you need more time to write down the definitions, now is a good time to pause. Next is dialogue, which is a conversation between 2 or more characters in the play. So 2 characters are talking to each other. That's dialogue. The purpose of dialogue in drama is that it moves the action forward. Okay, especially when you're watching a dramatic play, you're not reading all the different stage directions and things. You hear the dialogue. That's what tells you what's going to happen. So here's an example. Fred, that's one character, says, "Merry Christmas to you, Uncle." And Scrooge says, "Bah, humbug." Okay, that's an example of dialogue. The 2 characters are talking to each other, and that's what it usually looks like when you're reading a play. You see the character's name and then what they say. Monologue, a speech that's given by one character or to another or to the audience. So it's when just one character is speaking for kind of an extended amount of time. They're kind of giving a speech. So it's a speech given by one character to another or to the audience. A soliloquy is when a character voices their thoughts out loud when they think they are alone, or when they are alone, I apologize. When a character voices their thoughts out loud when they are alone or think they are alone. So it's kind of like they're talking to themselves. They're talking about their feelings and their thoughts just to themselves. The purpose is to help the audience know what is going on in their mind. Because we're not reading, we don't have an omniscient narrator who knows everything that's happening. The character has to speak it out loud for us to know what's going on in their head. An aside is words spoken by a character directly to the audience. So the character would purposely be talking to the audience when they're giving an aside. Again, this is usually to give further information on what is taking place. Stage directions are sets of bracketed information that describe scenery and how characters should move and speak. Stage directions are also very important in drama. They give a lot of information that we don't necessarily get otherwise. Like I said, they reveal information not given from the dialogue. Stage directions might tell you how a particular character reacts to something, or it tells you what the setting is like. They're always written in italics and in brackets. So here's an example of stage directions from A Christmas Carol. It says, "The clerk in the tank applauds. looks at the furious Scrooge and pokes out his tiny fire, as if in exchange for the moment of impropriety. Scrooge yells at him. So if we didn't have these stage directions, we wouldn't know that the clerk applauds, or that Scrooge was furious about his applauding, or his reaction to Scrooge's look. It gives us a lot more information than we would gather just from the dialogue. Stage directions also talk about where on the stage the characters are standing. So L stands for stage left, R, stage right, C, center stage, U, upstage, D, downstage. Now, what you're going to see on the next slide, well, we'll get to it in a second. So, directions are a little bit confusing because when you're talking about the stage and you're referring to, downstage or upstage or stage left, stage right, it's as the character on the stage. So when we look at this and we see that this says downstage left, I'm thinking, no, that's my right-hand side. But when the character's on the stage, it's to the left and it's down the stage. So it's kind of the opposite of what you would normally think it is. Dramatic irony. Situation in which the audience knows something the characters do not know. Okay, dramatic irony is a very important effect in drama. For example, in The Lion King, the audience knows that Scar plotted to kill Mufasa, while Simba believes that his father's death was his own fault. So the audience knows that it wasn't Simba's fault, but he does not. That's dramatic irony. Another example is like in scary movies and horror movies. We'll be watching the movie and we're shouting at the character, don't go in there, don't go in there, that's where the killer is, don't be stupid, stuff like that, because we know what's going to happen. We know that the killer is in that room, but the character doesn't. Dramatic irony. So we're going to do a little bit of practice. And reading this dialogue, I want you to think about what does it reveal about the characters. The nephew says cheerfully, "A Merry Christmas to you, Uncle. God save you." Scrooge says, "Bah, humbug." "Christmas a humbug, Uncle? I'm sure you don't mean that." "I do. Merry Christmas? What right do you have to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "Come then, what right do you have to be dismal? What reason have you to be morose? You are rich enough." "Bah, humbug." So, here's a sentence starter for you. I want you to take a minute to write down the dialogue in this scene shows the reader what? Go ahead and pause the video for a second and write your answer. So hopefully, your answer might look a little bit like this. The dialogue in this scene shows the reader the difference between Scrooge and his nephew's point of view on Christmas. Scrooge hates Christmas, while his nephew does not. Now, if your answer is a little bit more detailed than that, then that's great. This is just basically what it's showing us. We will talk much more about this as we read the play. Okay, that's actually the last of the slides. What you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and just take a short quiz just to kind of gauge your understanding of these terms. Make sure that you submit the quiz, and then you can get started on whatever is on the agenda next.